Right, hello and welcome to this week's angling blog. Today you join me on the banks of a small, intimate little river. We're on the River Tern in Atcham. Now the River Tern in Atcham is on the lymm anglers card, and lymm own the River Severn, which the Tern flows into just about 20 yards downstream from where we're fishing today. They own a good section of bank above and below the River Tern. We have fished the main river on a previous session. I'll put a link to the top of the screen now to a stick float session that we did just downstream below the Tern. Regulars to the channel will know that I love my stick float fishing, and over the years doing the blog we had some fantastic nets of fish, but today I'm really excited to fish this little river behind me. Fishing for me isn't necessarily about amounts of fish or size of fish that you catch. Don't get me wrong, it's great to have them days where you catch 20 to 40 pound of lovely roach or dace or chub, but the mystery of fishing is what I love. Driving down here today, not really knowing what we were going to catch, is where fishing is for me. That buzz of the unknown and chasing the unknown. Today we could have quite easily gone another river like the River Dee, you know, or the River Severn further downstream, and probably caught well. But today I just wanted to show that fishing isn't always about that. Fishing is about the excitement, the buzz and the mystery of not knowing. So flowing this close to the River Severn, the Tern could contain anything. You could have a rogue barbel in here, chub, dace, bleak, Mr. Pike of course. And the size of fish, we might well catch a load of fish that big today. We may catch fish this big. You just never know, and that is what I love about it. So let's have a look at the setup and the swim we're going to fish today. So set up for the session, I've got my 17-foot Preston Innovations rod, my Shimano Techium reel with 4 pound 4 ounce float fish. And the mad thing about today's swim is it's probably deeper than the ones that we've been fishing in the main river around Atcham that have been about 4 to 5 foot deep. This swim today, if you see the size 20 hook that we're using, couple of droppers, down to a bulk of Dinsmore egg shot number 4s, and then I've got 1 or 2 evenly strung down the line. And as you can see, we're a fair way up the rod to a 10 number 4 stick float. And generally when I don't know what I'm going to be catching, I will go with a fine tip. You never know whether dace are going to be there, and if I can get away with a fine tip I will always use it. It's a lot more sensitive than the dome top, and in this depth of water I do think it's the right choice on the day. So let's have a look at the swim and the bait that we've got. I walk to the end of the field, and that is the swim that you're graced with. The sun's out, and doesn't it look a picture? So looking a bit closer at the swim, you've got a tree upstream that is causing a slack on the inside down to another tree, which obviously screams Mr. Pike. And that's probably why you've got lily pads that are dying off, that are set up home there. But you've got a pace halfway to the far side. If you just zoom in on that leaf going down, gives you an idea of the pace. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be putting casters to begin with in front of me, hemp probably round about here, hoping to get the bites just on the crease. And there we go. Mr. Swan. And as I always say, no angling blog will be complete without Mr. Swan. And I don't know whether you caught a fish just topping in front of him, which is always a good sign for the session ahead. So side tray, got a couple of pints of red maggot from Angler's Ark, 2 pints of caster, again from Angler's Ark, and a couple of pints of a Cheshire Particle hemp. I say a bait that I wouldn't be without on any river session. There's no finer bait for holding fish in a swim on a river, whether that's barbel, dace, roach, chub. And that's the bait that we're going to be using today. So just feeding the swim, I'm going to start on caster with a red maggot on the hook, just in case there's any better fish about, and then move to maggot if we're not getting bites. Just going to feed the casters there, and if you see them rushes or reeds on the far bank, a nice little marker to aim for. I'm just going to put a little bit of hemp just on that and say covering an area. Fishing always start easy, you know. If you have to go over that far bank trotting along them reeds to get a bite, then make that be the last resort and not your first one. The swim has got a nice pace to it for the stick float, nice pace just to hold back against. We're getting down there to where I've put the hemp in. I'd say just not knowing today when that float goes under what we're going to catch. Just holding back. And edging that bait through. And what you're trying to work out on these early trots is if there's any snags that you're going to get stuck on that you can avoid. That's why I don't put too much bait in at the start. There's the first bite of the day. It does feel a nice fish. Certainly better than the stamp I was expecting to get at the start. And that's a cracking start to the session, that. When I first started I thought it might be minnows and maybe bleak. So to get a chublet, first fish, is a confidence boosting start to the session. So, second fish, a bit of a zoo creature. Feels a decent fish. The fact that it's going for the undergrowth on the inside suggests it's a chub. Oh no, it's a... yeah, it's a chub. I thought it was a roach for the second, but he's adamant on getting inside that bank. And I guess if there was any Mr. Pike about, he'd have been dinner. That's the second chub of the session. And there we go, second fish of the session. And look at that for the chublet, absolutely fin perfect. And just showing the decision to start on caster was a good one. I'm almost certain, given the small fish I've seen topping, had we started on maggot we would have got maybe minnows and bleak. 2 chub. And look at the quality of that. It's a lovely fish, that. With the float going down nicely, just on that hemp, it buried. We're getting steady bites and a lovely dace. And as regulars to the channel will know, my favourite fish of all, the silver dart. Let's get it straight back. And these type of swims are the ones that I love in river fishing. The ones where not many people probably wet a line. The fish probably aren't fished for that much, I would imagine. And they are just the beautiful places on the river and capture the magic of river fishing, really. You know, there's no set swims. It's, we know where you can get a basket in and get a rod in the water. And that is the magic of river fishing for me. It's the freedom of it. I mean, there's a main road just upstream, but you just don't hear it. It falls into the background when you've got surroundings as beautiful as this. You know, rivers really are the most beautiful places to wet a line. And today I am in my element. I really don't care what I catch today. You know, it's one of them sessions where just being on the bank, enjoying the last of the summer sun, because we are moving into autumn slowly now, so that sun won't be around or holding its heat for much longer. And yeah, going to thoroughly enjoy today regardless of how many fish we catch. It's a beautiful place to wet a line here, it really is. Let's get back to it. Can catch a nice stamper fish quite close in, and this dace is in amongst all them gudgeon and roach, minnows, and there's that dace just coming literally off the rod tip and showing that, you know, all them fish are down there. You have to work through the smaller fish at times, but they're worth it when you can get fish like that. Species today that I'm really surprised haven't made an appearance: Mr. Pike and Mr. Perch. Lovely little roach to add to the tally, and these areas of the river are almost like the nursery areas for the fish, you know, areas where they're free from predation, you know, overgrown, where the otters and the kingfishers and the herons struggle to get them in the weed, and they are the areas where fish can thrive. And as you've seen today, we've had a mixed bag of species, and I'd put my house that Mr. Barbel is also in the area as well. It wouldn't surprise me if we put a barbel rod out if we actually caught one of them. And we'll call that one the last fish of the day. Let's have a look at that final net. Right, so the session comes to an end there now. I hope you've enjoyed this week's vlog. If you have, please give the video a like and think about subscribing to the channel. There is a video every week at 6 PM on the channel. This one this week, hopefully it's shown that fishing doesn't have to be, you know, big nets of fish and these invisible barriers that we have in fishing, where fish have to meet certain criteria to be worthy. Fishing is all about just having a good time on the bank and enjoying yourself. Today, after a tough week in work, I've had plenty of bites in beautiful surroundings, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my days fishing on the bank. We've had a good mixed net of fish, and as you can see from the net on the screen, a good size difference. You know, we've had a chublet getting on for just over a pound probably, a few nice roach. I lost a nice roach that was easily over a pound, and the river's got a future. As I said, this is the nursery area of the river. This is where the fish come to breed, seek sanctuary away from predators, and these fish will eventually go into the main river and stock that. So these fish are the future of the river, and it's great to see that the river is so alive, not just with barbel, but with all species. I hope you've enjoyed this week's blog. Tight lines in your own fishing, and I'll catch us all next week. Tight lines.